day. I like the look of one that we saw, we had a few days ago on March 6th. And surrendering to the things that can't be changed is one of the keys to peace of mind. How often has worry over uncontrollable situations destroyed your serenity and thrown your body-mind into a fearful uproar? Years ago, a friend had a dream about a situation that worried me. She found herself in just the trouble I'd hoped to avoid. She accepted it and affirmed, "What is, and I can handle it." Seen rightly, every difficult situation is an invitation to center, stay present, and take whatever the next right step may be. We can handle whatever may arise one step at a time, and we will grow in many ways as a result.
Thank you, Andrew. I really like that. And if you would just send me a quick email with the title of that book,
okay,
I would appreciate it. Thank you. So many things in that to think about and try to do from my perspective. So thank you. I really like that. And I'm going to give the Rotary cog this morning. And I'm just taking a piece from Rotary International's statement on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I will put the link to this in the minutes. So, we value diversity and celebrate the contributions of people of all backgrounds across age, ethnicity, race, color, disability, learning style, religion, faith, socioeconomic status, culture, marital status, languages spoken, sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity, as well as differences in ideas, thoughts, values, and beliefs. And I had a quick quote to go with that. Diversity is a fact, but inclusion is a choice we make every day. As members, we have to put out the message that we embrace and not just tolerate diversity. And that was from Nellie Barrero.
Can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
Leslie, I think you're on. You hit.
There we go. Hold on. So for those of you who are new to our group, we like to include a little bit of comic relief each week. There you have it. I hope that was not too painful. So anyway, I hope this is better. You can all hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, it's not about me anymore. It's about our speakers. So, Sonia, thank you very much for organizing our speakers, and I'll let you introduce them now.
This morning, we have 3 members of the staff from the Vermont chapter of Alzheimer's Association, and they are Jordan Cotto, who is the program manager. He was born and raised in Vermont. In 2005, worked for Provale in Seattle, Washington, and joined the Howard Center as program manager later, and then joined in 2021 the Vermont chapter of the Alzheimer's. We also have Jenna Smith, the development manager, and she joined the Vermont chapter in 2018 and manages the Walk to End Alzheimer's in Vermont and also the Camel's Humps Challenge. And we also have Meg Polyte, and she is the, apologize if I pronounced your name incorrectly. She is the public policy director, and she used to be the chief of staff for the Vermont Lieutenant Governor. Her knowledge of Vermont nonprofits, community organizations, and politics. A BS and a master's from St. Michael's. Welcome to the Williston Rotary Club.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for that kind introduction and the stimulating thoughts for this morning. I really enjoyed that book. I've read it, Andrew, and it's fabulous, and liked the quote about diversity too, something that's one of our key objectives that we've been really working on. And you'll hear me talk a little bit about some of the work we're doing around that when I talk about policy. My name is Meg Polyte, and I'm just going to kick it off for a second before tossing it to my colleagues by sort of setting the stage of Alzheimer's in Vermont. And I've met Nancy. It's lovely to see you here, Nancy, and heard her story. But I wanted to just kind of center this on how real this is for so many people in Vermont. And Alzheimer's is a public health crisis in Vermont and in the United States. And there's more than 13,000 Vermonters over the age of 65 that have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. That number is going to climb to 17,000 in about 3 years. So it's big. Those are only the people that have been diagnosed. We know there are people with younger onset Alzheimer's, and there are people who have been misdiagnosed or for stigma or other reasons are not diagnosed at all. Alzheimer's and dementia deaths increased 16% during the COVID pandemic, and 1 in 3 seniors with Alzheimer's or another dementia is the cause of death. It's the cause of death for 1 in 3 seniors. So Alzheimer's kills more than breast cancer and prostate cancer combined. It's the 5th leading cause of death in Vermont, and we actually have the highest mortality, per capita mortality rate of any state in the country. And we have no cure. So it's real, and that's one of the reasons that we do a lot of work for it. And try and enlighten people and provide supports for people, and not just those living with Alzheimer, but also their caregivers, because there are more than 25,000 unpaid caregivers in Vermont, and they are really, really struggling. Many of them are in what we call the sandwich generation, so they're caring for their parents and their children at the same time. Last year, the value of their unpaid care was $717 million. This is work that they're doing in addition to their regular jobs, in addition to caring for their families. And it takes a devastating toll on caregivers. About 39% leave the workforce, and the majority are women. So those are some of the reasons that motivate us to get up in the morning to come talk to folks like you and to do the work we do. And you're going to hear some really positive stories from us as we share our presentation, because it is really a joy to work with people who are supporting loved ones or suffering from this disease. And it was really relevant, that quote, Andrew, of finding the silver linings. And we hear that so many times from people of things that this awakened them to that they wouldn't have known about if they hadn't been in this situation. So I'm going to introduce and pass this off to our program manager, Jordan Cotto, to tell you a little bit about the programs and support groups and the work we do on that side.
Thank you, Meg, so much, and good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for having us today. I wanted to first share that I was actually born and raised in Fairfax, so I'm thrilled to be working in my home state and doing a job that I'm very passionate about. My grandpa passed away of Alzheimer's disease when I was in college, and I saw what happened to my family and how much strain it put on them. So this is a cause that is very near and dear to my heart. As the program manager for Alzheimer's Association Vermont chapter, I'm responsible for really one thing: recruiting, training, and supervising volunteers in programs. Our volunteers lead education programs and facilitate support groups. Helpline is our strongest and most accessible resource to offer. Our helpline number is 272-3900, offering over 200 languages. Anyone can call looking for resources and support. Helpline offers care consultations facilitated by master's level care consultants who are available 24/7. For situations that might be a little bit more complex and need additional support, for care planning, for providing support for crisis type situations, providing a plan for responding to behaviors and suggestions for communication. Next, I'm going to share about about support groups and education programs that are currently virtual, and we're excited to share that we're moving to in-person April 1st. Many of our volunteers are very excited about this move, as it's been a long couple of years. Our current support groups, which are led by volunteers, one of them is located in Williston in our office, and that's the second Tuesday of the month from 5 to 6:30. The other ones are located in Woodstock and Newport. We're looking to expand that so that we have a support group in at least every county or two. There's also a telephone support group, which is exactly what it sounds like. And for individuals with diagnosis, we just finished a younger onset support group. It was time limited for 8 weeks, and it was peer-to-peer, led by a volunteer that is an intern at UVM. I'm now going to share a little bit about our education programs that are all free and all virtual. We have Spanish language programs, which we have on March 24th and March 28th. We have programs for caregivers, which we have March 14th, effective communication strategies, and March 21st, dementia conversations. And then we also have programs where all are welcome. Healthy Living for Your Brain and Body, which talks about how the brain and body connect, how to make healthy lifestyle choices, research in the area of diet, nutrition, exercise, cognitive activity, and social engagement, and hands-on tools to help you incorporate these recommendations into a plan for healthy aging. On March 15th at 11 o'clock, we have Understanding Alzheimer's and Dementia, which talks about how Alzheimer's disease is not a normal part of aging. The impact of Alzheimer's, the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia, risk factors, and also current research and treatments available for some symptoms. On March 28th, we have Advancing the Science at Any Given Moment, the latest in Alzheimer's and dementia research. And then our most popular one on March 29th at 11, we have 10 warning signs. Learn how to recognize common signs of the disease, how to approach someone about memory concerns, which is the #1 topic I hear about among family. The importance of early detection and benefits of a diagnosis, possible tests and assessments for diagnosis process. And then the other offerings we have are Understanding Alzheimer's and Dementia with a focus on frontal temporal degeneration, which is led by a scientist online March 30th. And then last but not least, New Advancements in Alzheimer's Treatment, which is on March 30th. And you will learn about aducanumab, a new advancement in Alzheimer's treatment, and how it works and how to get more information about that. The latest and greatest is the legal and financial planning training. And you learn about important legal and financial issues to consider, how to put plans in place, and how to access legal and financial resources near you. And the great thing about these programs that I found out after working here is that you don't have to be a lawyer to teach the financial program. You just have to be interested in teaching it and be interested in learning more about your community and about Alzheimer's. So there aren't specific qualifiers regarding being a lawyer, being a teacher. It can be anybody, which is wonderful. I'll tell you a little bit more about the actual volunteer positions. So the support group facilitator positions are generally about, the commitment is about 2 hours a month. And for training, it's 1 hour online. And then you go and you shadow another support group that you're interested in learning more about. And I support everybody through the whole process. And then for the community education volunteer position, it's kind of the same idea where you do the online training, which is about an hour to an hour and a half. And then I work with you to find a program that you want to shadow. and then you decide what kind of basic demographic you want to reach, whether it's your local church or your community center or your network at work. A lot of folks choose work and do lunch and learns. So that basically wraps up my end of the presentation. And I just wanted to ask a quick question. Can I just see a show of hands of everybody who has been touched by Alzheimer's in their life? Okay, so almost everybody. Okay, well, I really appreciate the time that you all offered for us to present today, and I'm going to pass the baton to Jenna Smith.
Actually, I'm going to take it.
Oh, sorry, Meg, I
end.
messed up. I knew I would do
Nancy,
that.
I see you have a question. We were going to take questions at the end. Do you want to hold it or do you want to ask something now? Shaking your head no? Okay.
Oh, sorry, I missed you, Nancy.
No worries. It's a yellow background and a yellow hand. So
I know,
it's
it's all the yellows.
So I'm back again, Meg, and as I mentioned, I'm the Policy and Advocacy Director for the Alzheimer's Association here in Vermont. And as you kind of got from Jordan's presentation, the entire Alzheimer's Association, which is a national organization, really functions on a peer-to-peer model. So as Jordan was asking for volunteers who become our educators and become our support group co-facilitators, I also look for volunteers to support the policy and advocacy work. And you're going to hear from Jenna about how we do peer-to-peer fundraising to run these programs. So we do have a policy director like myself in every state and region of the United States, and it really makes it incredibly powerful when we look at national legislation that we try to advance and how that legislation trickles down and impacts us on the state level. So first, I wanted to talk just for 1 second about one of our priority bills because it connects in with your diversity piece. And it's not one that I often highlight, but it happens to be our key bill that we're focusing on for the next month as we prepare for all of us to embark on a trip potentially to Washington, D.C., advocates from around the country. And we call it the ENACT Act, and it stands for Equity in Neuroscience and Clinical Trials. And so this is really looking at how we know that Blacks have about twice as large a chance of getting Alzheimer's as white people do, and Hispanics are also higher than white people. And we don't have enough data, whether it's for Alzheimer's or any other clinical trial, from diverse groups in the United States. And probably all of you have heard about historical reasons why they might be reluctant to participate in a clinical trial. So there's that. And then there's a lot of other things such as where trials are offered, when they're offered, and the fact that there's not very many people of color who are administrating the trials, which leads to that lack of trust. So this bill looks at both of those sides by designating additional funds to the National Institute of Health to specifically look at trying to raise the diversity of the pool of people both participating in trials and providing some funding to try and get more people into this as a profession, so that the group of people doing trials would also be more diverse. So that is one bill that we are working on. We also are working on a bill that's called the Comprehensive Care for Alzheimer's, and it's something that we sort of try to do here in Vermont as well with the Blueprint of Health and One Care, which is looking at on the national level for this bill, if we were to streamline how care for Alzheimer's was directed so that people weren't going, to the neurologist and to their family doctor and trying to get their medicine over here and figuring out their activities here, how it would be more cost effective for whoever's paying for it, the insurance company or the individual, and also just much clearer and more coordinated kind of service. So that bill calls to test the system at the national level for 2 years to think about if it should be rolled out where it would be really a streamline with all the care services coming in one area. And the third piece that we're really working on nationally, and we heard some great news yesterday, is we always have an appropriations link. And our link was for $289 million this year that goes to the Centers for Disease Control and the National Institute of Health for both research and development, which we know is so hugely needed, and to run down to the states from the Centers of disease and control to a program that's called the BOLD program. That's Build Our Largest Dementia Infrastructure Program. So it goes down from the CDC as grants to the states to help states create a state supporting plan for people with Alzheimer's and other dementias. And so Vermont applied for one of those grants and was one of the first 7 states to get those grants when that funding passed in 2020. It's very exciting. We're in the second year of our grant right now, and it's run through the Department of Health with a lot of support from the Department of Disabilities, Aging and Independent Living. And it's allowed us to hire a statewide program coordinator for Alzheimer's to be the point person for this work. We've started some more coordinated programs with primary care physicians that are sort of a hub and spoke style and an educational style program to try and get people in all the different counties in the primary care practice to be able to diagnose and support both people with Alzheimer's and their caregivers. And it's allowed us for the first time since 2008 to create a state action plan on Alzheimer's and healthy aging. And we didn't have the resources to do that. And later this month, we're going to see the draft of that plan that we've worked with over 80 stakeholders on to create and move forward. And that will be rolling out and hopefully will help us on the statewide level to coordinate some of these services to make it easier for folks to access them. So I wanted to talk about that BOLD grant because we have a bill right now that's probably going to be on the Senate floor this afternoon to be presented to the full Senate. It's a bill number is S206, and it's a bill that would sort of codify some of that BOLD work. So it would create a permanent statewide program coordinator for Alzheimer's that would be shared between the Department of Health and the Department of Disabilities, Aging and Independent Living. And they have time to come up with how to finance it. So it's nice because it's a zero appropriations bill because we have this grant funding that's going forward into the next fiscal year. But it would put our intention down that would happen and help us to continue the momentum that we have now in those programs. So that's very exciting that it's on the Senate floor today. We expect it to pass the House and we expect it to come fully into law. And the other things that we're working on just real quickly on the state level is we're working with the Long-Term Care Crisis Coalition to address the acute workforce shortage that's really impacting those with Alzheimer's and other dementia, all kinds of older Vermonters and their families. And so that's really looking at the home and community-based services, includes Choices for Care and the Adult Day program. And as a coalition, we've asked for a 10% increase this year to that program so that they can attract, recruit, and retain sufficient staff to run their programs. And as you all know, we're hearing about, Walmart's paying $15 or $17 an hour, and you can work at McDonald's for that rate. This is, as you can imagine, really hard work, really, really work that requires people who have dignity and want to do it. And we're not able, without additional support to those programs, to offer competitive wages, and people are simply leaving for other jobs. And the result is, over a year-long wait list to get into an adult day program so that you can go to work if you have your parent at home with you, or over a year's wait to put somebody in an assisted living type situation or a memory clinic. So we will be sending out messages to folks asking them to support that 10% increase in the appropriations budget as it moves through the House in the next few days and passes over to the Senate side, and to support ensuring that the reimbursement for adult days is $25 an hour. So just to kind of clear that with you, that doesn't mean they're getting $25 an hour, the person that's working there. That's the reimbursement rate that goes for all of the programs and including to pay the staff. We have, I'm always looking for advocates. If people are interested in becoming advocates, we'll share our contact information with you. We're doing an Alzheimer's Awareness Day at the State House on April 27th, which will be staging at the Capitol Plaza across the street, because we're not even sure how much we'll be able to spend time in the State House, but we will interact with legislators over there. And I send out an advocacy and action newsletter with short updates on a few programs every 2 weeks. And I can put the link in for that if you'd like to receive that. And then like this week, it's going to go out today, and it'll have a link for that appropriations ask in it. And it'll have the save the date for the advocacy day and a little synopsis on each of the bills. So that's advocacy and policy. Very quickly in a nutshell, and I'm going to toss it to Jenna to talk about development, and then we'll take your questions.
I see someone with a hand raised. Meg, I see, yeah, did you have a question that you wanted to ask now? That's fine, if that works.
Sorry, your name says Richard, and I'm pretty sure that might not be you. So
You're absolutely right. I'm Leslie, and I'm
Leslie.
sorry to interrupt, but Megan, I did want to ask you to put your information in the chat, please. That would be very helpful that you were just discussing. Thank you.
Great. Well, good morning, everyone, and thanks so much for letting us join you this morning to share the work we're doing. My name is Jenna. I'm a development manager here at the chapter, and I just wanted to talk with you about some upcoming community fundraising events and ways that your Rotary can get involved, or you as an individual can get involved from a volunteer standpoint. So I'm the staff partner for the Champlain Valley Walk to End Alzheimer's, which is our state's largest fundraising event. We have 4 walks in the state, and in 2021, among these 4 walks, we were able to collectively raise over $420,000. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Walk to End Alzheimer's, it's the world's largest fundraiser for Alzheimer's care, support, and research, and they're held in over 600 communities throughout the United States. So it's a very impactful community event, and is that way here in Vermont as well. So the walk is scheduled for September 18th, which I know is a ways away, but we have teams that are registering any time of the year. The website opens in January, and we already have 20 teams registered. So that's a really great way for your Rotary to get involved if you'd like to be there on walk day as a team. It's a peer-to-peer fundraising event. So again, we find that people have lots of success through asking their friends, family, and colleagues to support their team, especially through social media. Facebook is one of the best ways to fundraise. People are able to double, if not triple, their fundraising doing it that way. So again, a really great opportunity for you to support from a fundraising standpoint. But the other reason I'm bringing up an event that's scheduled for September is that, as you may have heard from Meg and Jordan, we are a volunteer-led organization. And so this event, and actually all of our walks, are really planned and coordinated through a volunteer planning committee. So our first meeting is actually next Friday. We're having a kickoff breakfast at our office location in Williston. It's at 8 a.m. and we'd love to have any of you join us, or all of you to join us. This would be a really great way for you to learn more about the Volunteer Planning Committee. We plan everything from marketing to event logistics, team recruitment, reaching out to people in the community to encourage them to join the event, team retention, so asking people who have participated to come and join us again. We even have a sponsorship subcommittee. So we meet monthly and we just go over our plans and our progress, and it's a really great group. So if you're interested and you'd love to learn more about that, we would love for you to join us next Friday. But if you can't make it and you still want to learn more, I'd love to set up a time to talk with you separately, and we can try to loop you in, whatever works best for you. So those are a couple different ways that you can get involved with the walk. But another event I wanted to share with you, which is coming up a little bit sooner, is our other signature fundraising event. It's called The Longest Day, and it's centered around the summer solstice. And it's an individual participant type fundraising event. So you can pick anything that you like to do and turn it into a fundraiser. So we have people that will do this individually, or they'll get their family members together, or, a Rotary would be a great example of a group that could do this. And you really pick anything. It could be a barbecue, a bowling tournament. We've had people do a knitting marathon where they, knit and they raise money. So there's a lot of different ways and a lot of flexibility around how you can do this. And for some people, this is just a better option if they're not able to be there at the walk in September and they still want to raise funds and they still want to support. It's just a little bit more flexible. So I know there's a lot of information, but again, we would love to have you join us either as a participant or for you to join our volunteer efforts. So I will also put the link to the walk and The Longest Day, and then my contact information if you have any questions at all. So thank you.
All right, so I know we just bombarded you all with numbers, opportunities, statistics. And luckily we got done early, and we would love to stay with you and just kind of go back and answer any questions, or if you heard something but you didn't quite write it down fast enough that you need us to repeat, this is the time for us to have a little more personal conversation with you about what you might have heard, or your thoughts or ideas around Alzheimer's or another dementia. All right. Well, I think I saw Phil and Sonia first, and then Charlie will go to you after.
We heard a great deal of information about various planned classes from Jordan, but is it possible to get that information on the website? Because I can't remember all that, and I don't think I have Alzheimer's yet, but I know I'm getting old and I forget a lot.
Absolutely, Phil. So what I can do is I can send, is there a general email I can send to, or I don't know how information is cascaded with this Rotary, but I can certainly send information, but we have a flyer that I was reading from. So I can send that to Meg to send to whoever we were working with for this Rotary, definitely.
Leslie, can you share it if I send it to you? And then
Thank you.
You can, Phil, though, get on an email list, and then at the beginning of each month, you'll receive this flyer that you're going to get.
Correct. Yes, that is also an option.
Yep, which lists the programs for each month. But since it's partway through March, we could forward that to Leslie to share with you for the March programs.
Absolutely. I'm sorry if I went too fast.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Charlie, go ahead.
Can you tell us the difference between Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia?
Ooh, that's a tough question. So I'm not a scientist or a doctor, so I can't tell you exactly the difference. I can tell you that they use Alzheimer's and other dementias because people know the word Alzheimer's, and so people immediately know what you're talking about. Whereas if people were saying, Lewy body dementia and frontal temporal dementia, even Alzheimer's, from the learning that I've done so far, can really present itself in so many different ways, depending on which part of the brain it sort of lodges itself in and starts to deteriorate. So those are the kinds of things that you would go to the memory center or work with a neurologist on to figure out the exact kind of dementia that you have. And the work that we do is for anyone with any kind of dementia. All of our funding goes to all the studies. All of those different dementias are covered in the education programs. If there's specific communication styles that might be better for someone because they know with a certain dementia they present in a specific way, they talk about that. So we really, at the state level, we call it ADRD, which is Alzheimer's disease and related dementias. It's an umbrella for everything.
And I put more information about that in the chat. Hopefully that's accessible to everybody.
Other questions that folks might have about what we're doing? I did put in there ways to get involved as well. Go ahead, Leslie.
I actually don't have a question. I just want to say thank you, because I have utilized the services of the Alzheimer's Association myself for my family members when I lived in Colorado, and you all were a godsend. So thank you so much. There's so much more to do. The need is tremendous. And as a family member of someone with dementia, it's a very lonely place to be and a very scary place. So thank you. I appreciate all that you do.
Thank you for sharing that. And it brings me to like one of the biggest pieces that we work on that doesn't have a bill number, an education program. And that's really reducing the stigma around this. And as you mentioned, it's extraordinarily lonely for people. And most people tend to think it's something that they're going through that's very unique. And what I hear from folks that end up going to a caregiver support group is, oh my gosh, there are all these people that had this, that having the same experience, the same frustration, the same sadness, the same challenge. And so, one of the things we really try to do through the walks, through the programs, through the policy is just raise awareness about this and try and reduce the stigma and reduce the isolation that people feel, whether they have it or a family member has it. And unfortunately, there still does seem to be a lot of shame associated with the diagnosis, and a pretty quick move for people to that person can't do anything. And really trying to show, I know one of the things that I really love is I have a couple advocates that actually are in early stages of Alzheimer's, and they're advocating for themselves on behalf of their needs. And it's a very empowering opportunity for them, and so powerful for policymakers and volunteers to hear from someone who has a disease and see that it's not a diagnosis that your life is over. It's a change in the way that you function and the way that you move through the world. So we really do a lot for that as well.
Oops, I'm sorry. If there are no more questions, we'd like to thank you
It
very
looks like
much.
Dave Erickson has a hand up. Sorry, didn't mean
Oh,
to.
I'm
Dave has
sorry.
one more.
I'm sorry. I didn't see you.
I raised it late. I had to step out for just a second. So did you tell us when the date was of the Vermont walk?
Yeah, so we actually have 4 walks in the state. Our largest walk, which is the Champlain Valley Walk, and I'm not sure if I said this the first time, it's at the Shelburne Museum. It's on a Sunday, and it's September 18th.
Okay. Yeah, I have walked in that one at the Shelburne Museum, and I if I might be so bold as to suggest that our Rotary Club could maybe form a team and walk this year.
We would love that. And I realized too, I gave you a little bit of information about the walk, but just some additional details about the walk at the Shelburne Museum. If you have not been there, it's a beautiful location. And as Meg has said, for a lot of people, this is a way to feel part of this community. Alzheimer's is a devastating disease, and being at the beautiful Shelburne Museum on a fall day and among your community and walking through the grounds of the museum, I feel like people leave feeling hopeful, which I think is, a really unique thing. So we'd love for you to join us. And our registration normally starts around 9 a.m. And then we have an opening promise garden ceremony where everybody that is at the walk, all participants will hold up a flower during the ceremony that represents their connection to Alzheimer's. So we have different color flowers, people who are living with Alzheimer's, people who have lost loved ones to Alzheimer's, or caregivers. And we do a ceremony, and then we take off on the route. So again, it's a hopeful day for a lot of people, and we'd love for you to join.
Nancy, did you have a question?
Okay.
Okay. If there are no other questions, we do wish to thank you, all 3 of you, for speaking to our group this morning. And in recognition of this, we give a donation to the Connecting Youth Mentoring Program at Williston Central School. So thank you again for coming.
Thank you so much for having us, and for all of the wonderful work that the Rotary Club does, and for that donation to the school, which is so important too. So we really appreciate it. We hope we'll see you in our office in Williston at some point, and at our events as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sonia, so much for scheduling these speakers. Can you all hear me okay? Okay, great. So I guess they did leave. All righty. So before we go into sharing time, does anybody have any announcements? Charlie? Can you unmute, please?
I pushed the button, it didn't take. Next week, the local Habitat for Humanity construction project in the new north end of Burlington is going to be hanging sheetrock in a duplex, and that's a kind of a fun job, but it's a job that goes really fast if you have a lot of people. The workday is 8 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, any day next week. They can use people that would like to help with it. I personally will be working with Leslie and Armand on Tuesday go to vermonthabitat.org/volunteer and sign up and get registered for whatever day you'd like to work next week at Habitat, and wear your yellow Williston Rotary hat while you do it.
Thank you, Charlie, for mentioning that. I'll take that off my list. We'd love to have more of you join us too on Tuesday if that works for you. Charlie, is it possible for people to only do a portion of the day if that's all they have available?
I suppose. I don't know. I never thought about that.
Okay. Well, we'll be there for sure 8 to 3, and hopefully other people can join. Any other announcements? Well, it just so happens I have a few. That's a surprise. First of all, Dave Erickson, I love your idea of having a team to do the Alzheimer's walk. So I think I might pass that on to the service committee. And we have a birthday gentleman in our midst. Phil, happy birthday. I'm going to spare singing to you. You're welcome. I wouldn't do that to you, but I hope you have a wonderful day. And John Jacob's birthday is tomorrow. So happy birthday to him. And don't forget to order a brick, an engraved brick. There was an article in the Observer about those, and you can just contact Phil for information to order those. The club will pay for any members who are veterans, so please go ahead and order a brick. And I believe the deadline is the 18th. Is that correct, Susan? Perfect. So those will be installed in time for the Memorial Day observance. So it's pretty exciting, and it's just another way to remember Deb Beckett, one of our former Rotarians who died, I guess now it's almost been 2 years. So that's in process, and I think that's all I have. Does anybody here in the house have anything? Okay, well, the sun is shining. I have sunglasses at the ready, so I think spring is here, everybody. And I'm going to pass this to Armand for sharing.
Okay, thank you, Leslie. If you would mute that speaker, I'll turn. Everyone hear me okay? Okay, so good morning, everyone. A little history this morning. Today was in 1788 was the last battle of the American Revolution on this date. It was off the coast of Cape Canaveral. So with that, I'm going to start with Kerry McCabe. Good morning.
Well, good morning. It was a very good presentation this morning by the three folks from the Alzheimer's Association, and do have some experience with that with my mother-in-law, who lived with us for a number of years and until she no longer could. Very quiet week, suffering from withdrawal symptoms from select board and other things, but that'll be cured next week when we go back to